Okay, I'm going to talk you through your assignment for assessing risk in sport. It's assignment 2, safe working procedures, which you can find on Moodle. So the aim of this presentation, which is attached, is to give you an awareness of what you need to achieve P4, M3 and D2. So if you complete all of the pass criteria, you'll get your pass, same for merit and distinction. So hopefully this presentation will be able to tell you exactly what you need to do and give you some examples as well. So for the assignment, now this is included in your assignment brief, which is also attached. So you have an email from me in here which says, "Dear Sir, Madam, it's come to my notice I've not had my annual report for you for over a year now, so it is my duty to ask you to do the following for me, and this is by 4 p.m. on Friday the 16th. Can you send me an email describing 3 procedures that are used to promote and maintain a healthy, safe sporting environment?" So the 3 procedures that you're going to be looking at are first aid, emergency procedure protocols and equipment manufacturers guidelines, and there is an outline there of exactly what you need to do. On here, so this is your scenario, and remember I'm the HSE officer, so you're sending your report to me and you are the duty officer in your leisure centre. So be thinking of things like staff that work in the sports halls, fitness rooms, gyms, swimming pools, and relate everything in your email to your staff and working in those areas. Okay, as I said before, the due date is Friday the 16th of January. One of the procedures that you're going to be looking at is the first aid procedure. So every single leisure centre will have procedures for first aid. So you need to give a bit of an outline about first aid and then how you use it in your leisure centre. Remember that staff members need their training updating every 3 years. Okay, and that is the Health and Safety at Work Act, which is from 1974, and that is what set out the legislation that said how first aid needs to be dealt with, so you need to mention that. Same for emergency procedure protocols, so there are a number of different examples of emergency situations where you would need this. The most common ones that you would know about are fire evacuation, so that would then tell you where you need to assemble in the event of a fire, so knowing where the fire assembly point is, how to make your way out safely if you're a staff member, which area you might be responsible for, or would there be fire marshals, fire safety marshals who would do that. So it would outline absolutely everything in this plan, basically, of if there's a fire, this is what happens, who is it that rings the fire brigade, who sets off the alarms, all that kind of thing. And exactly the same for all of these situations, there will be a plan in place in that leisure centre that says in the event of a flood, this is what would happen. So you need to tell me about that in your leisure centre. So that is an outline of emergency procedure protocols. Then we have equipment manufacturers guidelines. So every single piece of equipment that gets used in a leisure centre will have the person who made it, so the equipment manufacturer, it will have their instructions that it came with. So from as simple as things for how to assemble badminton nets or how to inflate a ball in the sports halls, to how treadmills work, how to use gym equipment properly, everything would come with it. It's all to European Union approval standards, so that would, you wouldn't have anything in a leisure centre that wouldn't reach that standard and have the approval mark that says it's a safe piece of equipment to use. So you need to relate everything that you do. Remember, keep relating it back to the criteria. So if you want to achieve the pass, you need to describe each protocol to me, each procedure to me. So you give me a detailed account of what it is, and where it might be used in your leisure centre. Keep linking it back to the criteria. So tell me these 3 procedures and why do they, not why, because that would be merit, but describe to me what it is, what they're there for, why, how they help to promote a safe environment. So the example for this is I've done all the examples based on staff training, which you don't cover in your assignment. You're covering first aid, emergency procedures and equipment manufacturers. But my examples are for staff training to let you know. So staff training is where staff are given the training that is necessary for them to complete their job role. So I'm just describing what it is. For example, and then using an example to back it up, if someone is employed as a lifeguard, they would have to receive lifeguard training to become a qualified lifeguard. They would also need to have their training kept up to date, which we know is for every 3 years for lifeguard training. So that's an example of the past. The merit would look something like this. So remember, you're trying to make the situation a bit more clear. You're trying to give the hows and whys of everything. So how and why is each procedure carried out? So you will keep relating it back to me, explaining these 3 procedures. An example here is staff training involves keeping staff up to date with new health and safety procedures. So we're going into a bit more detail here. It develops their knowledge and their skills to make them more effective at their job. So that is the why. Why are we doing it? So it's to make them better at their job because we're giving them increasing their knowledge and their skills. It involves following procedures to ensure health and safety is met at all times. So you're given a little bit more detail about it. And then if you wanted to achieve the distinction, it's all about analysis. So you analyse the 3 procedures used to promote a safe working environment. That's the criteria. And here's an example. As you can see, it's in a little bit more detail. So staff training is vital, ensuring that staff can properly carry out their job. Without the correct staff training, they could end up committing negligence through not knowing the proper procedures and what is legally their responsibility. So we've gone into the consequences now of if you don't do staff training, this is what could happen. I've then given an example to back it up. So for example, a lifeguard could add to someone's injuries if they were trying to rescue them out of a pool. So for example, if they took them out the wrong way, they could actually increase their injuries, make them in a worse position than they already were in. And that injured person could then decide to take the company or that individual to court due to negligence. So you do that, you say the impact of not having that procedure in place, and then you add kind of your opinion. Do you think that staff training is a good procedure to have? So I've put that I think it was an excellent procedure, as it's making sure that staff know how to carry out their jobs, and then hopefully if people carry out their jobs properly, less accidents will happen in the first place, and members of the public in the leisure centre and things would be in safe hands. And then I've just put another side to it. So I've said the only downfall of staff training is that it can be expensive, keeping everybody's qualifications up to date, and it does take up a lot of time. So time that they could be working, that would have to be fit in a rota in a leisure centre. However, that is all necessary to making sure that the workplace is safe. So that's if you want a distinction. Make sure that you use your worksheet that you completed in the lesson to help you, and this presentation as well, which I'll put on Moodle, and make sure that you send me your email before Friday, or by Friday 4 o'clock, and actually 3 o'clock, so before the lesson, and there is my email address at the end. So I hope this has helped. Any problems, then just email me.